Good morning, good people, fellow humans. Today is Monday, the 13th of October, 2025. Here we are at Department of Career Services in southwestern Nevada in Pahrump or Pahrump, you choose. Cheers. Not too shabby. This is day one of week 2 in our neuroscience-oriented approach to success book. And that is titled, week 2 is called Inside My Skull-Sized Kingdom. Not outside my skull-sized kingdom, inside my skull-sized kingdom. So here we learn the neuroscience part of this program. Here's where we learn about neurons, neurotransmitters, the reticular activating system, and how it all comes together in this body with over 100 trillion cells. I don't know how many cells there are. There's over 100 trillion cells and 10 times that number of bacteria. 100 trillion cells, none of them know who I am, none of them care who I am, and about 86 billion neurons in my brain with 10,000 connections, which we're going to talk about today. None of these know who I am, none of them care who I am, yet somehow they work together to make me me. So the question is, who am I? And why do I behave the way I do? If I know the answer to those two questions, then I can dial in who I need to be right now. Oh, I feel that protein powder grating in my neck, my throat. So, week 2, day 1. I am my connectome. What? Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But before we do that, let's look at some of our things down on our worksheet down below. You can find it on our website, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, not Twitter, X, all available there. That's where the magic happens. The podcast is just the thing we do. People like us do things like that. This is a way to build better habits. Create a routine, which would be get up and watch the video. Do that every day. Create a habit, repetition, habit. Get in the habit of doing that, and you're moving forward in life. And then you have a little proto habit on that, which is to every day just get a little tiny bit more, just a little tiny bit more. And over time, it'll be a lot more. It's just like working out. You start out slow and you just do little incremental improvements every day. And then there you go. Forward, onward, upward, etc. Structure is what we need. We need to have a routine. And having this podcast as part of your daily routine is a good thing. It's a good system. Good system. Okay. All right. So, advice from an 80-year-old. Advice from an 80-year-old today. Make it a habit to do nice things for people who will never find out. That's a good habit, right? Don't always feel you have to get acknowledged for the things that you do or that we do. Don't always feel like it's a quid pro quo, something for something. It's a bargain for exchange. There has to be reciprocity. Nope, don't think of it that way. Get in the habit of doing nice things for people who will never know. Okay, Darren Hardy, big one today. Boy, this is a big one. I'm going to put this one in red letter. And Darren Hardy's only here he only keeps this stuff up for 3 days. So if you don't watch it in 3 days, you're not going to get it. But this is 5 laws power players use silently. These were some big ones. Some biggity, big ones. Did I say big ones? Yeah, there's some big ones there. What else we got on our hit parade? Oh, Seth Godin. Seth Godin, 2 useful AI tactics. Create a document several pages long that explains who you are. What sort of learner are you? Do you have degrees or expertise? What sort of changes are you making? Who works with you? What are your standards? How do you want to engage? Periodically upload the doc to the chat you're having with an LLM. Let it know you're offering a reminder of how you want to work together. One size doesn't fit all. Okay, so create your here's who I am, here's what I'm about, here's my why. Also, don't look to AI as a source for verified facts. The phrase, that can't be right, please double check and offer sources is not going to hurt the AI's feelings, but it might save your project. Human beings are used to being productive by decreasing the amount of time and effort we put into something. Computers don't work that way. Give them instructions on how to take the long way around and you'll both come out ahead. Wow. Seth Godin, once again, we worship you. We are not worthy. Very good. Okay, should we get into the guts of it? I am my Connectome. Okay, so this is a TED Talk, not a TEDx, so it's main stage. The presenter is Sebastian Song, and this goes back to, don't know when it was, probably 10 years ago, maybe longer. And so he's at a top university. I don't think it was Princeton, but is at a top university. He is recognized as a big name in the Connectome game. So he starts by saying, no two of us are exactly the same. Our genome gives us different color hair, eyes, etc. And so though we are very similar, we're not exactly the same. And the same goes for our brain. No two people are exactly the same. And then he describes the connectome as opposed to the genome. So the genome is the sequence of our genes. The connectome is the sequence of neurons and connections in the brain. And the idea is who we are is stored in our brain. How do we know that? Well, let's say somebody drives a nail through your hand or through your wrist. Do you forget who you are, where you are, what you are, etc.? No. You drive a nail through your head, may you forget who you are, what you are, where you are. Or let's take a stroke. You cut your arm and blood is coming out. Not enough to kill you. Or you get a bruise. What's a bruise? Broken blood vessel, right? That's blood that is seeping out and it's in your thing and it takes a while to clear away. Okay. If you break a blood vessel in your brain, that's called a stroke. We call that a stroke. Now, where does the blood go? Your brain can't get swollen. Your skull can't get swollen. So the blood presses on the brain and it damages the brain. For Dr. Amen, this is a traumatic brain injury. You've got blood flowing into your skull cavity. It has nowhere to go, so it presses on the brain, destroying neurons. When neurons get destroyed, it impacts our life. We might forget things. We might have half of our face drooping. We might not be able to use half our body, depending upon the amount of damage to our brain. So we know that our brain is responsible for a lot of stuff, having to do with our lived past, our anticipated future, our ability to locomote, our ability to simulate, all of that. So that is in the brain. And then you ask the question, well, where in the brain? And that's what Simon Sinek his mission is to figure it out. Where exactly is it? How exactly does this work? And we've got a lot of stuff, but we don't know exactly how it works. We can't recreate a brain. We've got a lot of information. We're learning more and more all the time. But it turns out when we say, I am my connectome, in other words, I am the product of what's in my brain. And what's in my brain is unique to me. So Simon Sinek is going about figuring out what he did, how he started, was taking the brain and taking very, 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 very thin slices of it and putting them, coloring the neurons and stacking them up and seeing all the connections in the brain. And he has a great illustration of how this works. But they map the brain. So in the brain, we have neurons that look like trees. And as this neuron almost touches that neuron, there's a little space called a synapse. And this neuron, for example, will spit out neurotransmitters to this neuron. And then it'll go down that neuron to, turns into an electrical impulse to that neuron. And it'll go from neuron to neuron that way. And so the idea is our memories, our lived past, are encoded in the sequence of firing of synapses. And it's not just an electrical discharge, it's a chemical discharge. And what we're going to learn tomorrow is the neurotransmitters do different things. And we're going to focus on endorphins, dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, cortisol. And then a little bit later, testosterone. So the neurons spit out neurotransmitters to the neuron right next to it, across this little tiny gap. And that's where all of our feelings come from. So that's what the TED Talk is about today. I am my connectome. And the interesting thing is the connectome changes, I think it's 10% every 100 days. When it changes, that doesn't mean it improves, it's just different. So there's a lot of what's called neural activity, going on. So as we do something more and more, the connection gets stronger. It can become a habit, so we don't even have to think about it. This neuron fires, triggering this other cascade where we don't have to consciously do things. Okay, 14 minutes in. All right, so what's the point? If we understand how our brain works, we can use it as a tool. So just imagine somehow there was a time machine and this device got sent back in time 5,000 years. Say 2,000 years. Let's say somebody found this and gave it to Julius Caesar. What good would it do him? Right? They pushed the button. Oh, it turned on. Oh, what's that? Oh, if I move my hand across here, it will seem like magic, which is, I think, Clarke's first law. Any sufficiently advanced technology will seem like magic. So they get this and they play with it. They have no idea it's a phone, right? It's this magical thing made out of very interesting materials. That's not what makes it so exciting, because they have highly made ornamentation, gold, stuff like that. So it's interesting, the glass, the feel, the things on the back. They're trying to figure out what it is, what it does. Now, let's say instead of 2,000 years ago, this was discovered 500 years ago, the beginning of the Enlightenment period, where science has taken place. They're going to look at it from a scientific thing. Oh, there's lenses on here. There's this, there's touch. Let's say 50 years ago, when they're trying to figure out how to make cell phones work, they figure out, this is a communication device. This is a way to talk to other people. Aha. Now, once the first Motorola cellular telephone comes out, or radio telephone, or whatever it was called, comes out, wasn't cellular, comes out, and they see this, it's like, oh, that's the future. Let's start building towards that. This is the future. Now, what does this have to do with the Connectome? I don't know. So Simon Sinek is trying to map the brain, map the connectome, to prove we are our connectome. It's a theory right now, and it needs to be proven. But what we know is it's got to be true, just like gravity is a theory, because we can't explain it exactly. The connectome is the theory, but what we know is if you damage neurons, other things are impacted, depending upon the damage. But the good news we learned from Dr. Amen is the brain is plastic. In other words, we can relearn things. And Dr. Amen's point was it's easy to damage the brain, fix the brain through a Brain Smart program. And again, this is a Brain Smart program because our students have suffered brain damage in generally 2 or 3 of the 5 ways. 1, alcohol, drugs, traumatic brain injury. Those are the big 3 for most of our students. Something growing on your brain, cancer or a cyst type of thing, or brain disease, something growing in your brain. Alzheimer's, sometimers, Parkinson's, Atkinson's, Hodgkin's, brain diseases. But the brain is plastic and it can relearn. So our reason for watching Simon Sinek is to understand how the brain works. It's very basic, very simple, but simple to understand. Hard to explain how it works, but we can describe how it works and we get it. So what we're going to be learning a little bit later on from Blaine Elkos is what you put in your brain is what you get out. If you watch a lot of negative, bad stuff, if you spend your day watching negative stories on YouTube, your connectome is going to be changed for the negative, and vice versa if you do it the other way. Also, what you plant, Blaine Elkos says, is like your brain is like a garden. What you plant is what you sow is what you're going to reap. If you plant carrots, you're going to get carrots. If you plant avocados, you're going to get avocados. So we need to plant good things in our brain. Also, that means we need to stop all negative self-talk. Don't scold yourself. Carol Dweck says, have a growth mindset, and one easy hack to do that is to add the word yet. Instead of saying, I can't type, or I can't do that, add the word yet. I can't do that yet. That's a simple brain hack that will get you to keep looking for the improvement. Instead of looking for the error, looking for the improvement. I can't talk to God yet is different than I can't talk to God. You say, I can't talk to God, what's the point of trying? If you say, I can't talk to God yet, what's the point of not trying? Okay, so we're out of time. That's it for today. Tomorrow,